Alright, testing, testing. Hello. Okay, this is so much better. Okay.
Cool.
Right. We can start officially now.
May I
Yeah,
have
I
a
think
laptop?
whenever... Yeah, sure, take it away from me. Anyway, I think every time you heard those beeps and boops, that was my microphone disconnecting. So, great. It's a hand-me-down, so whatever. I'll take what I can get, I suppose.
Thanks, fan gamer.
Yeah, thanks, fan game. Giving me a crappy microphone. But okay, we're all here. We're all here. Hooray. Let's start fresh. Thank you, everyone, for staying here. Looks like we hardly lost anyone. Maybe one viewer. Maybe we gained a couple. I don't know. But anyway, welcome back. Let's do this for real now. Okay, this is the Mother 3 UCH Steam Group Spring/Summer Modding Camp. This is the very first lesson. Hopefully going to be the first of many successful, enjoyable lessons. Again, a lot of people have the misconception that today's lesson, or just the classes in general, will be way over their heads, super complicated, about coding, Lua, whatever have you. No, we are keeping this very simple at first. We will move on to some more advanced topics later, but I will try and keep every lesson interesting and enjoyable for people of all skill levels. I know we have a couple of people who have been here, kind of veterans. Thank you for joining us. Let's see here. Yeah, again, this will be once a week, if maybe more frequently during the summer when school's out and people are more available. But as for right now, it'll probably just be once over the weekend. And yeah, let's get started. This is going to be an introduction to Source Engine, the art of modding, and hopefully end with a crash course in mapping. So by hopefully within the hour, I said that last time, and a good chunk of it was spent taking care of technical difficulties, but hopefully within the next hour, you will be able to create your own maps for some of your favorite games like Half-Life, Portal, Left 4 Dead, all that great stuff. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Let me get rid of this. Bump and... Alright, here we go. This is the picture I had before. I was doing a voiceover, but I just now learned no one understood what I was saying. So I'll try and recite it. Maybe some of you were able to make out what I was saying, or perhaps already figured out what this picture is. So I'll try and do the quick cut version. Game engine. It is the software that basically runs everything behind the curtains of a game. It's what does all the heavy lifting and creates the game world that we know. It takes lots of different things, some more, I guess, tangible things such as music and art, and some more abstract things such as game logic and player input. I'll try and give a quick overview of what each one is. Game logic is basically it's the laws that determine how the game world works. It creates the type of genre that it is, such as sports games use game logic to determine when a goal or a point has been made and which team receives it. First-person shooters use game logic to handle things such as health, and that when health reaches 0, the player dies or the enemy dies. That's all game logic. Music and sound, that's pretty straightforward. 2D art, that's pretty straightforward too, but in the terms of games, it usually refers to things such as like textures. Or yeah, definitely within the source engine, it's what's called materials. It's the texture that's wrapped around on walls, ceilings, floors, and creates more lifelike imagery, and also presents a mood. It's very important. And then 3D art, that includes anything from the level itself, the actual geometry that you walk around, the structure, the outside areas, everything, to props and characters and vehicles. And player input is basically mouse input, keyboard, if you're using a game controller. It's basically the interaction with the player to the game itself. All these elements are taken together inside one program, which is the game engine, or in our case, Source, and pops out and it creates the it generates the gaming world that we enjoy at the bottom. So yeah, that is a quick introduction to the Source engine. Again, I'm kind of keeping things very simple and I guess down to the basics like this because this is the very first lesson. I'm trying to make it as approachable to most people as possible, and I'm just assuming that people don't know anything. And I understand that a lot of you already know this, so again, that was the quick course. Let's move on to the next thing. I have let's see here, I have some class notes written up. I should probably bring these up really quick. I had to close them when I restarted my computer. Shouldn't take too long. Bear with me, thank you. Alright, so I went over what is the source engine, or what is a game engine in general, and how does a game engine work. So now that we've gone over that, I'll just kind of throw it out there. No, we'll move on to modding. Modding is basically taking any of these elements, well, player input doesn't really count, but things like 3D art, 2D art, the music, the sounds, the game logic, it's taking those elements and creating something new, creating your own, is it like Call of Duty? Call of Duty uses its own engine. Call of Duty could use the same engine as Dora the Explorer's, Great Adventure. It doesn't matter what type of game. It's basically, like I said, it does all the heavy lifting. Like a car could be a taxi, it could be a race car, or it could just be used in a movie to get blown up. A car is a car, but it can do multiple different jobs. And that's what the source engine is. It can do multiple different jobs. That's a good segue into what I was about to say. When you take these different components and modify them, that's called modding. You create something new, and it creates a brand new game. If any of these things, the game logic, the music, or the art, was changed in Half-Life 2, it would become a completely new game. And lots of people have done that on a very professional level, too, and have created brand new experiences. I have a small list of some of the more popular ones. The one that we probably all know is Garry's Mod. That's not exactly a huge mod in its own right. It's just kind of taking the source engine and just opening it wide, exposing all of its naughty parts, and just giving the keys to everyone. So that's Garry's Mod. Some of the other ones you may have heard is Vampire, the Masquerade Bloodlines, the Sin episodes, Dystopia, Flipside, Xenoclash, and Dear Esther. These are some other very popular mods out right now. And they, like I said, they're done at a very professional level, and they feel like entirely new games. That's the sort of power of modding. So for some people it can be a hobby, for some people it can be a profession, and it can lead to game design in general. So today we're gonna, that was sort of the introduction, and if you're here, you want to learn to create your own game experiences. And I'd be really, and I'm very excited to teach. In case you don't know who I am, again, my name is Serge on the forums and on Steam. I created the maps Newport City and Millennial Fair. Those are probably my most well-known works. But I've been modding ever since the days of Duke Nukem 3D, and then on to Half-Life 1, and then eventually Half-Life 2 when I was in high school, and that came out. But modding can range from all different sizes. The next couple classes, like I said, this is going to have a crash course in mapping. I also plan to cover such cases that are other subjects such as texture creation and 3D modeling. I myself am not a huge expert on coding. I know a little bit, but I would not call myself a programmer at all. But like I said, those classes may happen eventually as I start to learn it as well. Also, I don't need to be the only host. I think I've mentioned in the announcements on the Steam group that anyone else is more than welcome to apply to host their own lessons. Like I know we have Masa here, who is taking some gaming classes, like formal gaming classes in school, and knows a bit of scripting and programming. And if he has something that he feels like he can contribute, or I know Shadow Bounty is here, he's also a kind of a veteran mapper. If anyone has some knowledge that isn't covered in the courses and would love to share with the community, please speak up, just contact me and we'll schedule a class. But in the meantime, let's get down to it. This is the nitty-gritty. Like I said, within the hour, I want the majority of you to be able to, not the majority, I want all of you to be able to use sourceSDK, use Hammer, and be able to create your own worlds and be able to play inside them and share them with your friends and fellow modders. Next week, hopefully we can maybe have a show and tell, see what all of you are able to accomplish within a week. But just leave your expectations at the door. It's fairly simple. Just pay attention. You can follow along if you want. You don't have to. Afterwards, this video will be uploaded to YouTube so you can review it. I'm also working on some notes. in the form of like a PDF file or just an image, some that you can download and you can just read in plain text. Basically all the main guts of what I'm going over here. Alright, well, let's begin. There's a couple of there's a couple of preliminary things I had set up and asked people to do before they joined the class. One of the main ones was install sourceSDK. I'm going to just assume that everyone's done this already. If you haven't, don't fret. Like I said, you can review this course later. And yeah, so just follow along the best you can. You don't need to open up sourceSDK yet. One of the main things, and again, some of the more professional people, or well, more professional, some of the veterans, I guess, some of the people who already know kind of what they're doing. You know, I can make maps, I've done this before. That's good. I've been modding myself, and only until the last couple of years have I really sort of realized the importance of organization. It is very important. So that's sort of the things I'm going to start off with. If you've installed Steam, or if you've installed sourceSDK, then Steam has set up a very particular file structure inside your computer. And it's set up a bunch of folders that are very important. Oh, wait. No, not Left 4 Dead. Yeah, so anyway, it's set up some folders which are very important to modding. And I'm going to show you sort of how to navigate those folders, you know, kind of explain what each one is, and also how to organize them so that it can make you efficient and have as few headaches as possible down the line. So, let's see here. I'm going to start by opening up a folder here, and I'm going to just kind of show you the general file structure. Whoop. One moment. Opened up Hammer here, that's for later. Nope. Okay, there we are. The chat's back. Let me just bring up these files. Okay, here we go. I take it everyone knows how to get... Well, maybe they don't. I'll just show it from the beginning. Again, this is also taking into account that this is a Windows-based tutorial. I don't have a Mac. I don't really work with Macs. Valve has been very good with making everything cross-platform. So everything that you see here can be applied to a Mac, just unfortunately, I can't really give you much advice on that. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to get to your Steam directory. Hold on a minute. Please excuse me. Yes?
Pretty sure the only thing we can still see is your stock image.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm about to change that. Okay, yeah, actually just a moment before Saber came in here, I was just getting my folders up. Here we go. Behold. Not that. This. You're seeing my computer. I'm trusting you guys, so don't make fun of my hard drive. I try and keep it as neat and clean as I can. Anyway, here we are. This is our root directory, the C drive. I hope everyone knows how to get to here. If not, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I try and make this a class as easy to approach as possible, but whatever. Here we go. Yeah, if you don't know, just message me. I'll try and help you out. This is the C drive, our root drive. You can find all your Steam files under... Well, let's see here. If you have a, depending on the age of your computer, it'll either be program files or program files x86. I have a 64-bit operating system. For those of you who know what that means, I'll be in program files x86. So let's go there and scroll down to Steam. There you are, Steam. And here we are. We're in the Steam files. So again, that's the root directory C drive, program files. It's either program files or program files x86, depending on how old your computer is. And Steam. We'll go into Steam apps. Yaha. And here we go. These are the main nitty-gritty files. This is what everything runs on. You'll see a couple folders. Common, this is where all of your... this is sort of the new place. It seems like Valve themselves haven't really made up their minds on how they want to organize their own files. At first, whenever you downloaded a game, it would install the game inside a folder named after your user account. Like mine is CyberSticky. And so when I go in here, I have things like Gary's Mod, Dave Defeat Source, Counter-Strike, Half-Life. But in newer days, everything's been installed in Common. So I have Castle Crashers, Cave Story, FTL, Left 4 Dead, all that stuff. Excuse me. So, those are just game files. What we're going to be working with is the sourceSDK files, which are inside the folder named after your username. So we'll go in here, and you'll see that there are already some folders here called sourceSDK and sourceSDK content. We'll be going to sourceSDK later in some more advanced topics, but for right now, we'll take a look at sourceSDK content. This is where everything, this is basically your workshop. When you make something new, you're going to be putting it in here. This is where you're going to be saving everything. This isn't what it looks like initially. Initially, it'll have folders that'll say TF2, HL2, HL2DM. Those stand for Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. They're basically, the folders are organized. Wait, actually, I think here we are, samples. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Basically, this is not a very efficient way to organize your folders. So, to begin with organizing your sourceSDK content folder, I would recommend creating a folder like I did. I called it samples, because really I feel like that's what Valve did. And just scooping them all in there. And then after that, create... Yeah, here we are. You just want 3 folders. You want a map source folder, a material source folder, a model source folder. Those are the 3, that's the holy trinity right there. You'll be using those for everything. These other folders that you see here, these are just, these are folders I use for like reference. They aren't necessarily game files. Like here, I have, this is back from my senior project in high school. I went to a place called Eastlake. So these are where I keep like my rough files. Like I was using these for textures. Like here's an air vent. Yeah, picture viewer. Come on. Okay. Here's what it looks like. This was taken back in 2005. That was a picture taken for an air vent. These aren't used for the game. Those are just things I put places. Dayton City. Yeah, this is commission ideas. So these are where I just keep files that I don't need for the game. Anyway, I'm getting a little too carried away with that. Map source is where you're going to keep all your files that you'll use in Hammer. Hammer is the program that creates the worlds you walk around in. It's basically the world creator. It's the most approachable tool that we'll be using. It's pretty fun to use, especially once you start getting pretty good at it. It's very enjoyable to work in. You'll be saving your actual levels or maps in the map source folder. Material source is used for making 2D art, like textures. Like here, I'll open this up. Yeah, I have a couple. Yeah, wow, are these really all? Yeah, okay, these are all my own projects. So as we see here, I'll open up. Now let's take a look at Gygas here. Gygas map we have in progress. This is where I have all the textures I'm working on for the Gygas map. Let's see what we have here. Really, that's it? I can find a better example. Let's do Millennial Fair. There's plenty of stuff here. So here's like a texture I used to create with. Here we go. Yeah, so here's the texture used for the benches in Millennial Fair. It's saved as a .tga. There we are. Anyway, we'll go into all that organizing anywhere or later. So that's materials, and then model source. When we get into 3D modeling, you'll be putting your files for 3D models in here. Again, this isn't really something you need right now, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there because even if you've been modding for a while, again, organization is very important, and you'll be thinking to yourself later down the line. So again, I want to move on here. I'm taking too much time on this. But the 3 things you want to do is be able to navigate to your Steam Apps folder, be able to navigate to your sourceSDK content folder, and be able to basically, like I said, scoop everything that's already there into another folder so it's out of the way, you don't have to look at it anymore, and create 3 folders: map source, material source, model source. Once you have that done, I think we can move on to actually making some maps here. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, what I would also suggest doing is maybe going to your desktop and creating a shortcut to this folder. A quick way is to just go up, cybersticky, so here I am, or whatever your username is, right-click on sourceSDK content, and do send to desktop as a shortcut. There we go. I'll go down to my desktop right now. Okay, there we go. One moment. Clutter, clutter. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, so here's my sourceSDK content folder. There it is. I created my own icon. You don't need to do that. But when I double click on this, it opens up my sourceSDK content. Again, this is very important to have. Another folder I would suggest making is called a Games Tools folder. Again, you can make it whatever you want, but this is basically a short, easy place to go where whenever you need something that has to do with modding, you can go here. As like creating a shortcut to Hammer, or shortcut to sourceSDK. Right now I have shortcuts to Adobe Photoshop, which is what I use to create textures. I gave a couple suggestions for some free alternatives. One of them is paint.net. And Soft Image Mod Tool, which is what I use for 3D modeling. And then here's a couple shortcuts that I'll explain later. This is also a tool used for editing textures for Half-Life, or for the Source engine. And this is Workshopper. This is used to upload files to the Garry's Mod Workshop. Again, these will all be covered in lessons in the future. But like I said, for right now, preliminary is a very good idea to have shortcuts on your desktop or wherever you find most accessible for sourceSDK content. And have a folder for game tools, so you can put all your software into one easy to find place. Okay, so anyway, that is the preliminaries. Again, I hope this isn't too intimidating. We're getting to the fun part. If you forget everything I just told you so far, that's all right, I guess. I'm doing this for your own good, but if you forget, it's okay. You know, I'll try and go over it again later. Well, I won't go over it again, but you know, you can feel free to contact me, and I'll also include it in some notes, so you can go back and review it later. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's go into sourceSDK. This is where things are actually going to happen. So, looks like most of you stayed with me so far. Thank you. Let's see here. We'll open up sourceSDK. It is located under your... When you open up Steam, there's the library... Yeah, there's store, library, community, and your username up at the top. Under your library, you'll see a subcategory called Tools. Under Tools, there'll be sourceSDK. Again, I don't feel like I should have to explain this. All of you should have had sourceSDK installed already, but if not, it's okay. Let's launch sourceSDK right now. Here we go. I'm going to bring it up here in a second. Oh yeah, also looking at my desktop, happy Mother 3 anniversary. It's been 7 years since it was released in Japan. So, that's awesome. I didn't really think didn't mean for my classes to correlate with that, but it did, which is good. So anyway, here we are. I have sourceSDK opened. When you open it up, sourceSDK isn't so much a tool itself, it's just a collection of other tools. I'll go through and I'll give you a quick, brief explanation of what each of them are so you feel a bit more familiar when opening it up. Hammer Editor is, as I explained before, it is the world creator. It creates the world, it allows you to make levels, maps, whatever. Model Viewer is a good debugging software. It's a way for you to sort of, when you make 3D models, view them, be able to spin them around, take a good look at them, and also gives you more of a technical side of things, shows you things like how hard it is for the computer to process them, what textures they use, you're able to, what bones they have, you can view their animations. It's a good tool. Face Poser, this is used for creating expressions, like if you want to have characters that are very expressive, want to have lip syncing, hand gestures, be able to walk around a room, pick things up. Basically, it's almost like the director's chair. You sit down and you're able to tell the characters how they should express themselves, you know, be more scared, be more happy, where they should move, like where they should walk in a level, what they should look at, how they should interact with things, and stuff like that. Item Test, this is a tool used for TF2. It is used for if you're making hats or weapons. It's basically just a way for you to plug your custom tool, your custom item into the game and see if it works. I haven't used it too much just because, I don't know, I haven't taken an interest really in creating custom tools or custom items for TF2. Maybe someday in the future. Documentation, release notes. You can read this if you want. It basically just kind of gives you an introduction to the sourceSDK, kind of like what I am. It's probably a useful read. SDK reference docs. This is super important. I cannot stress this enough. You want to look into this. I'll open it up right now. Here we are. This is the Valve Developer Wiki, SDK docs. You want to bookmark this. This is going to be your best friend. It covers everything you'd ever want to know. From modding in general, as you see, we have level design, programming, modeling, materials, sounds, particles, choreography, filmmaker, tutorials, technical, glossary, whatever. So anything you ever want to know about modding can pretty much be found in here. I'm trying to give you a more like layman's terms, a more personal introduction to things, and hopefully, explain things more. But if you have any questions that I couldn't answer, or don't feel like asking me and just want to go straight to the source, poke around here. It's hours, well, not programming, but yeah, hours and hours of fun. You could really learn anything you'd ever want to know here. So, sourceSDK reference docs. Utilities, create a mod. If you wanted to create your own game from scratch, you'd want to use this tool. I haven't used it in a long time, but basically it gives you a blank slate. It creates a folder. It creates folders inside your Steam directory, which you can give it a name, and basically it's just, you can either do bare bones, or basically it's just Half-Life 2. It just gives you Half-Life 2, and it gives you all the tools. So then you can tweak it to make it your own game. Create your own levels, create new guns, create new characters. Maybe if you know programming, create some new game logic, and before you know it, you have your own game all by yourself, and it's great. Refresh SDK document or content. This is important for if you start having errors, like I think it just has to do with corruption mainly. Like if you get hold on a minute. There we go. If something gets screwed up, like hammer isn't working, or your model viewer is acting really funky, if things just don't feel right, you do refresh SDK document or content. It won't erase your files. It won't screw up anything that you've done yourself. It'll just reset. It's sort of like verifying in a game cache, if you've ever had to do that. It's basically that for sourceSDK. Reset game configurations. Game configurations are down here at the bottom. Engine version, current game. Those are game configurations, and if those get screwed up, you want to reset them. Edit game configurations. This is things like if you want to... it's basically if you create a mod, if you're creating your own game, you'll want to do edit game configurations, so that way you can get... basically so your game shows up down here. Last time I checked, it isn't exactly working correctly, so I wouldn't advise messing around with these. Maybe once I mess around with it a bit more, we'll be able to get that to work. Valve Developer Community and Soft Image XSI Mod Tool. This link doesn't work anymore. I provided a link to get Soft Image XSI Mod Tool in one of the announcements. Valve Developer Community. You know what is this? I'm not too sure. If anything... Oh, okay, it's sourceSDK docs, just a different page. Anyway, here we are. Down at the very bottom, these are our game configurations. This is where you choose what game you want to work on. Engine version, so these are different versions of the source engine. Let's see here. Oh, this is great. Sorry, one moment. Anyway, I'm having a little bit of a problem. I'm doing dual screens. I'm having a lot of my notes and stuff open on the other screen, and I'm using this screen to kind of show you things. But whenever I click on this, it pops up on my other screen, so I can't show you. But when I click on here, it opens up a list that says Source Engine 2006, Source Engine 2007, 2009, and MP, which stands for multiplayer. When I go to 2006, the only game is Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. When I choose Source Engine 2007, again, same thing. Source Engine 2009 has quite a bit more games. That has Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2, and Portal. So as you can see, I can change the game I want to mod for. But right now, I'm going to mod for Team Fortress. So Source Engine Multiplayer. And now we have Team Fortress and Counter-Strike Source. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to do the rest of the initial map tutorial using Team Fortress. It doesn't really matter what game you have, but this is what we're going to use. Alright, here we go. Moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to open up Hammer Editor, and we're going to work on making our very first map. So double click on that. Actually, no, I already did. I already have Hammer open. Whoop, there we go. This is Hammer. Awesome. One moment, I need to move the chat around because it's blocking some stuff. Yeah. There we go. We don't need to see all those things right there. There we go. Okay, I hope you can still read the chat. Actually, it's kind of in the way right now. Let me move that. Alright, I think that's a decent size. So, here we are. Hammer. Awesome. Let me just re-situate some of these. They got moved off to the side, I guess, with a screen. Okay, there we go. So, we're all set up. Some of you there may be a problem where something called, oh man, what is it called? I'm gonna move up there. I think it's called manifest. You'll have a bunch of things like the whole right side of the screen will be taken up with all these modules. You can drag that and rip them off. Like you can rip these off. Like I'll take Viz groups. Boop, there, you can do that. You can rearrange them, or you could just grab them and close out of them entirely. Yeah, let's see here. We're going to create our first map now. This may look all a bit intimidating. If it doesn't, it's going to look a lot more intimidating once we create an actual map. But again, just bear with me. I'll walk you through it. Try and keep it nice and simple. We're going to go up to File and New. Boom. Here we are. This is what Hammer is going to look like most of the time. Again, you might be a little taken aback, but don't worry. I'll explain all this a little bit. Okay, here we are. Let me just take a look at my class notes. It's a lot to look at. And beforehand, I had organized everything, so hopefully we can try and get this all situated. First off, I'm going to go into Tools and go under Hammer, or yeah, Options here. I'm going to be modifying in Gary's Mod. Not all of you need to do this. But if you plan on modding for Gary's Mod, I recommend doing this. Up here at Tools, go down to your Options, and we're going to get this set up. You have a lot of different tabs up here at the top. We're going to go to Build Programs. Basically, what this does is, I think I need to kind of describe what files Hammer works with. There's a file type called .vmf, which stands for Valve Map File. This is not the file that you give to people when you want them to play your map. This is what you want to work in Hammer. Right down here, actually no, it's under Game Configurations, I'm sorry. Right down here at the bottom, Hammer VMF directory. This is where it's going to save all of your maps. Click on Browse, and this is why we created that map source folder in our sourceSDK content. Browse. And yeah, we'll go to Computer, Root Directory C. For me, it's Program Files, x86. Go down to Steam. Yep. And then Steam Apps. Your username. And sourceSDK content. And then here we are. Here's our map source. There we are. We want to put things in there. Hit OK. And now, whenever you save a map, or whenever you save a map, you can always find it in your map source. Later on, you can, or that's the default area. And now, anyway, we'll go back to Build Programs. Again, this is for if you're modding for Gary's Mod. When you create a level and you want to be able to play it, you have to save it as a well, not really saving. It's called compiling. Compiling is basically when Hammer takes all the things that you've made, it takes the world and it scrunches it all into a file that Source can understand. And that's called a .bsp, which honestly I don't know what that stands for, but you just eventually begin to memorize these things. But anyway, you want to place your compiled maps inside your Gary's Mod. Since I chose TF2 as my modding game, it'll automatically save everything into Team Fortress. But since I want to play it in Gary's Mod, you'll go to Browse, and I'll show you how to get to the map directory for Gary's Mod. You go to your C drive root directory, Program Files x86. Again, this is the same way, getting the Steam, and then Steam Apps. And now Gary's Mod is underneath your name. It's not in common. So CyberSticky, and then, or whatever your username is, Gary's Mod. Gary's Mod, it's very redundant, but yes, inside the second Gary's Mod folder. And then you'll see Maps. There you are. Select Maps and hit OK. So now whenever you build a map, whenever you build a level and compile it, instead of having to manually drag and drop it from Team Fortress into Gary's Mod to play it, it'll automatically put it inside your Gary's Mod Maps folder. Alright, enough of that. Let's actually get into the gist of things. A world, like a map or a level, is comprised of basically three main things. Actually, no, before I go into that, let me explain what these windows are here. These are called our viewports. When working in 3D, you have usually three viewports, one for each plane, I'll explain that soon, and a preview window in 3D. Right now we have nothing, so everything's all black. If you're familiar with how blueprints work, or if you've ever worked with graph paper, this should feel more familiar to you. But anyway, every viewpoint is a plane. What is a plane? Basically, when working with 3D, you have three directions that you can go, or three dimensions. There's the X, Y, and Z coordinates. How to best really explain it, I hope to have some more visual aids for this, but if you think of it as X as being length, Y being height, and Z being depth. Those are the three things that define a 3D object. I'll show you how to basically work with those soon. Each viewport shows a plane, which is basically two coordinates. So this one right now is top. If you move your mouse to the top left of a viewport, you can see what viewport it is. So this one right here is top, XY. What that means is this is a view looking down. This is what a blueprint would look like. This is looking at the floor plans of your level. You're able to see all the rooms, hallways, and stuff like that. So we get X, which is left to right, which is width, and Y, which is up and down, which is height, or I guess in this case depth. Whatever, width and height. So anyway, if we go to this one, we have front. So imagine viewing the same thing, but instead of from the top looking down, you're at the front looking at it front on. So if this was a person's head that we were looking at, the top view would show their hair, the front view would show their face, and then this is the side view, looking at it from one of the sides, which again, if this was a head, would be seeing their ear and a profile of their head. So that'll kind of give you a brief idea of what you're looking at. Again, it's kind of disorienting. If you're new to this, you will get lost a little bit, but just the more you work with it, the more familiar you get to it, and the more you'll be able to walk around your levels more freely and be able to, yeah, you'll be able to look at it and it'll be a lot less confusing, so please don't feel intimidated. Again, it's kind of a lot to absorb if you're never used to working with 3D, or especially if you aren't too familiar with X, Y, Z, that sort of thing. But it's something that grows onto you, and it's really not all that hard. So now that I've, oh yeah, you can resize these viewports to make it as, fit comfortably the way you'd like. The best way to do it is right here, just point at the middle. You can click and drag them around. You can see you can review, I don't know why you'd ever want it like this, but you can. I try and keep them all about equally sized, but you can, again, change it to however you like. Let's see here. Your viewports may not exactly look like mine, because I know Hammer has its own default, and also I guess depending on what game you're creating for, like if you're creating for Counter-Strike or Half-Life 2, these viewports could look a little bit different, but I believe what you can do is do window, and you can choose what type here. You can do cascade. Oh, don't like that. Window, tile. No, I think I'm doing the wrong thing here. Window, message. Okay, I think they changed it around a little bit, but anyway, you should have 4 viewports. To change a viewport, you click on the top left here, and you can choose what type of viewport it is. So right now I can make all my viewports front viewports. That is a very bad idea, but I could. We don't see any changes right now just because we don't have anything in our level. Maybe I'll show that off later. Right now, camera is the 3D viewport, or is the 3D preview. We can do wireframe, which basically shows the geometry without any textures. It's like everything was made out of wires. Flat, textured, it's probably better I show these once we actually have something in the level. So, anyway, as I was saying before I remembered we had to go over what viewports are. A level is made up of 3 main elements. And those elements are brushes, brush entities, and point entities. Now, those may sound, you may not know what any of those things are, but here, I'll show you one by one. We're going to start off with a point entity. A point entity is, entities are kind of the things that really bring the world to life. They're things like characters, lights, particle effects, the player himself, weapons, vehicles, everything. Anything that can be spawned is basically an entity, and a point entity to be exact. Over here on the left are our main tool sets. This little light bulb here is what we're going to start with. This is what you create point entities with. Click on that, and now on the right side we can, it'll default as a player start. Down here at the bottom right, we have our entity window here. I'll pop it out so you can see what it is. This thing here, this is our entity window. I'll put it back here on the side because that's where it's, I guess, most efficient. You can have your categories. We'll go over that later. But objects, this is where you choose what type of entity it is. If you click on this, you can bring up your entity list, and all the entities you have to work with are here. Like just a quick one here, environment smokestack. This creates smoke. Environment splash. This is if you want to have like churning water, like on a boat motor or something, you'd use that. So it constantly creates a splash effect in water. Yeah, lots of things. But anyway, the default one is info player start right here. If it's not the default, you can find it again by clicking on this little arrow here, which opens up the drop down, and info player start. So now let's actually create where the player is going to start in our level. This right here is the grid. Actually, you know what? Here, I should probably show you how to make the grid a bit more appealing. Right now, there's lots of little squares. Up here at the top left, you can control your grid. You can turn the grid off if you're crazy. And you can turn on 3D grid, which is good for the 3D view, which you don't need to have on. Anyway, these grid with plus and minus, larger grid, smaller grid. These basically create the accuracy of what you're building. Like if you're working with something that really big, like you're making a street or a really tall building, you want to work with a larger grid. And if you're working with things really small, such as like maybe a door frame or a window frame or just like stairs or something, you want to have a smaller grid. So I'll show you what these do. You click bigger grid and boom, the squares get bigger and bigger. And small, they get even smaller until you can't even see them really. So anyway, let's move this up a bit. Let's make it big, about that. This looks good. So we're looking at less clutter on the screen. So anyway, we have the entity tool selected. We have info player start as our entity that we're going to create. And now just click and drag anywhere on your top viewport. You'll see that it snaps to the grid. This shows where it's going to be created. It's kind of hard to see, but these lines on the grid are actually different colors. The main color you'll see is gray, and then there's brown. And then these teal lines, these aqua blue lines here, those show you the very center of your map. Those kind of cut the map right down the middle. So where this vertical line here shows where the map is split long ways, and this is wide. So where the two meet is the exact center of our level. So let's create a player start right there. Oh, here, before I do that, I'm going to show you how the sensitivity or the accuracy of your grid changes things. So I'll make it smaller. So now you see it snaps to these grids, and you can be more precise on where you put things. So, again, I'll make it a little bit bigger. We don't need it that small. Boop. We'll put a player start right here. Once you have it set, just hit enter. Ding. Now we have our player created. This is important because it also gives us a good perspective of how big our level is. Like, as you can see, he's very tiny. So here's how you can navigate around. You can use either the magnifying glass to zoom in. You select the magnifying glass and you can click the zoom in or right click the zoom out. But the easiest way to do things, and it'll save you a lot of time and hassle, is to use the mouse wheel. Just point the mouse in the viewport and use the mouse wheel, scroll down to zoom out, and mouse wheel up to zoom in. It's a really quick way to move around your level, and it's a really quick way to zoom in and out. So we're going to zoom in on this character, here he is. So as you can see, we're looking from the top down at him. If we go to another viewport, like front, and we zoom in, we're looking at him from the front. And from the side, here we are. So again, this is a very good, I guess, way to get your head wrapped around X, Y, Z, top, front, side. So anyway, now that we're zoomed in, you can see that the grid isn't very helpful. There's nothing here. There's just 2 lines. So let's make our grid a bit smaller. There we go. So this looks a bit better. So we have an info player start. He was created with a point entity. That's what a point entity is. And now I'm going to go into describing brushes. When you think brush, you probably think of things like paint brushes, and really I don't know why brushes got their name in Hammer, but it's something you just get used to, and it's just probably something that you should get to calling them. But basically what they are, a brush is a geometric shape inside Hammer, and the most simple of them all is the cube. So here we are, just underneath the light bulb is the brush tool, or it calls it block tool, but again technically they're called brushes. So we'll click on the block tool, and now we're going to create a platform for the player to stand on, because if we were to play this level right now, it would basically just be the player inside an empty vacuum, and it would be very bad. You wouldn't see anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to create something for the player to stand on. We're going to, what you do is, a good way to start is to start in the top view. Let's zoom out a little, and let's just create a square platform for him to start on. You just point and click at a corner. So let's start down here. You click and you drag, and boom, you see a square. This is going to be the platform. Let's just drag it up. There we go. It's a good platform there. So you drag from one corner to the other to create a square. I'm going to zoom out a little. On each side of the square, you can see the units. It shows you how big it is. So 224 high and 256 wide. So it's not a perfect square, but I don't really care about that. We just want to make sure that when we start the level, we don't fall into the abyss. So, you know what? Actually, let's make this quite a bit larger. Let's make a big open room so we have lots of room to work with. So we'll hit the plus button to make our grid a bit bigger, zoom out a bit more, and I'm going to expand the room size quite a bit. Oh no, I clicked outside, I didn't grab the corner correctly, so it disappeared. So let's start over. Whoop, there we go. And you know what? I think an even room might be a little bit better, so I'm going to actually make it just the right size. There we are, 512 by 512. Now we aren't done yet. When you create the size, this is only the planning stages. It gives you sort of a ghost image. You see these dotted lines here? That shows that the brush doesn't exist yet. This just shows you where it's going to be. Now, this is a good thing here, but if we look at the front and side views, we can see that the brush, or our platform that we're going to make, is going to be inside of our player. Our player is going to be created and just his eyeballs are going to be poking out. And obviously that's not going to be good for playability. So what we're going to do is, once you have the general size laid out in top view, you go to either the front or side view, either one doesn't really matter, and these little white blocks on either the corners and sides are kind of like handles. Think of them as grip points. You can click and you can drag and resize things there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down a little here, and then I'm going to take the top and move that down. So now we have a nice little block here, and our player is standing on it, and he's not inside of it, and that's what's important. So now that we have that, we have the general layout. We look at it from the top, looks good. Our player isn't going to fall off. He's right there in the middle. We look at the side, it's good. It's not inside the player is not inside of it, and yeah, it's a decent thickness. So here we are. Now, how to actually create it and bring it into existence, you hit enter. Ta-da! So now those dotted lines turn into a red line, which basically means that it's selected. This arrow tool up here is your selection tool. I'll use that. When I use the selection tool, ta-da, these handles appear. So even after the brush is created, I can resize it. I can make it smaller, I can make it fatter, larger, make it thicker. I can screw it all up by making it taller and putting the player inside. But, whoops, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, let's resize that. So anyway, if you just noticed, the red lines turned into blue lines. The red lines show what's selected. So as soon as I click outside of the block, oh yeah, by the way, aside from resizing, you can also click in the middle and drag the whole thing around without changing its size. You can just move it around. So there we are. I have it in the middle. When you click anywhere outside of your object, it turns blue, or any other color. There's multiple different colors, but it just turns a solid color outside of red. So here we are, top view, side views. But now we can actually see our level. Right in here, you don't see anything in the camera view, but that's because the camera is inside the ground and at the player's feet. You can use the camera tool here to start looking around. Like if I look up, oh, we got a nice crotch shot of Gordon Freeman's spawn model right there. And there we go. You navigate the 3D viewport the same way that you would inside game. You use WASD to move around. W is forward, A is backwards, A and D is go left and right. So anyway, the camera tool is a good way to move around, but what I want to do is I prefer to teach you shortcut keys because it'll save you a lot of time. The shortcut key for the camera mode is the Z button on your keyboard. So when your mouse is inside the 3D viewport, hit Z and your mouse will turn into a crosshair, which means you're looking around. So then you can use WASD to fly around. So I'm going to fly out of the ground and get a better look at things. So here we are. Again, using WASD, you can fly around, and you have the crosshair. It's good. You hit Z, you get control your mouse again. You can do other things. Put your mouse back in the viewport, hit Z, and you can fly around. Anyway, there we are. We see the spawn point, and we see the platform we created. Everything is updated in real time, so if I go back to the selection tool, and I click on our brush, and I move it away, you can see it updated here in the viewport. So, I'll put it back. And now, let's see here. Again, I'm just going to kind of go over my notes, make sure I haven't passed anything too important. Okay, here we go. Okay, next thing I think is to kind of point out, the first thing that might draw your attention is the texture. This texture that appears on our block, we never chose this, you know, and it might not be exactly what we want. So I'm going to show you how to use the texture editor, which is here on your right. I'll click and drag it out. Whoa, not that. Texture group. Okay, you know what? It's kind of giving me some trouble. It's not wanting to come out. Maybe it can't. Anyway, here we go. This texture editor over here, the main thing you'll want to do is let's click Browse here. That'll be our main, yeah, it'll basically show you the texture browser. So we click on this and this brings up the entire library of textures. You can scroll through them all at once. They may take a little while to refresh depending on your computer's memory and graphics processing, stuff like that. But here you can look at every texture in the game. It's pretty handy and it's pretty fun too, and you can just sit here and scroll through it and just browse. It's almost just kind of flipping through really it's just like flipping through a book, find out what you want to look or what you want to use. Down here there's a filter, or there's a box called Filter. If you want to find something in particular and don't want to browse through all these trying to find it, Filter is where you want to go. So this is a platform to stand on. These rocks are pretty good and they would do the job, but let's do something else a bit more, I don't know, let's just change it. So let's do something a little bit, I think for the first tutorial here, we're going to do something a bit more industrial feeling, a bit more artificial and man-made. So let's type in concrete. Concrete. So boom, here we are. We get all the textures that match the filter concrete. You can use the mouse wheel to go up and down. Oh, here's something that's kind of important. If I do two searches, concrete and let's say grass, here we are. If I don't click somewhere on here, if you don't choose a texture, and you use the mouse wheel to scroll up and down, instead of scrolling through the textures, it'll scroll through your searches. So if I'm going to use the mouse wheel, okay, well it's not doing it now. Let me try metal. There we go, and I'm going to use my mouse wheel. Weird. Okay, it's not doing it anymore. Hopefully they fixed it. Basically what would happen is it would scroll through your searches. So you can click this little arrow here. Oh, they changed that too. Okay, anyway, let's go back to concrete. Never mind. I guess forget everything I just said in the last 10 seconds. It doesn't apply anymore. But so you have to click on a texture before your mouse wheel will work. That still hasn't changed. So you choose a thing here. You see the size is here, 128 by 128. You can change it to 256, and it makes the textures bigger. So 128 by 128 will show you the small. It's basically how many textures you see per page. They aren't as detailed. You can't see them. You can't see them as clearly. Like you'll notice this concrete floor right here looks a little janky because it's so small. If I make it 256 by 256, boom, it looks better, more clear. It won't affect how it looks in the game. It's just for your convenience of browsing. But anyway, this concrete floor, I kind of like that now that we're looking at it. So I will double click concrete floor, and now you'll see that it takes the place here in the preview window. So if I were to create another brush, like, yeah, let me see, I'll go ahead, I'll delete this floor. I select the floor, hit delete, it's gone. I click the brush tool, and I'll just make another floor. Create another platform, another 512 by 512, sounds good. Make sure it's center. I hit enter. Boom, so now it's created with the new texture here. And now, here's something that is very important. This is kind of a more advanced topic, but it has to do greatly with the efficiency of your map. When creating a brush like this, you may not always see every side. Like the side down here on the underside of the brush is also there, and the player's never going to see this because if they fall off, if they fall off, they're dead. And eventually, what we're going to do is we're going to create walls in a ceiling so that way they won't be able to. We're going to basically create a cubed room. Now, when we create a cubed room, they aren't going to see. The cube is created of 6 sides. They're only going to see one, the floor here. So these other like 5 walls that we are here are not going to be seen. It's very inefficient to have the game have to think about these walls. So a very good, I guess, a very good habit to get into is to use a texture called NoDraw. Whenever you create a new brush, give it the texture NoDraw. So we'll click on Browse, and we'll do a search for NoDraw. There you are, NoDraw. Basically, when a brush has the NoDraw texture, the game does not think about it. It still creates collisions, so like when you're playing a game and you run into like an invisible wall or something that keeps you from going too far outside the level, that's potentially a NoDraw brush. It's invisible, but it still functions as a wall, as a solid object. But it's very good for efficiency because the less the computer has to think about, the faster your game will run and the more enjoyable it'll be. So again, let's delete the floor. Actually, instead of deleting the floor, I'm going to show you this other tool. This is the Apply Texture tool. It's right here. You'll see 2 cubes. One cube looks like it's made out of a quilt of things. It has like a brick top, a blue side, and a green side. That is important later, and I'm going to discuss that in just a few seconds. But this one down here is a complete all brick-looking cube. That will apply the current texture, in our case NoDraw, to all the sides of what you have selected. So I have our platform selected. I'll hit this. Boom. NoDraw is applied to everything. It is very ugly looking. It may hurt your eyes, but again, it's something you just kind of have to get used to. But once our brush is created and covered in NoDraw, we can now paint only the sides we want. And that is this tool right here, the Toggle Texture application, or as I call it, the Paint tool. So you click on this, and it opens up a window. Here we are, the Face Edit sheet. This is what we use to edit the textures that are applied to a brush. So when you move your mouse outside of here, you see you have a little paintbrush can next to your mouse. Here you can click, and you can't really see it too well. Well, actually, yeah, you can see it pretty well, but an orange tint goes over any side that you have selected. You can hold down Control, and you can select multiple sides at once. Release, Control and click, and you only select one. If you want to select all the sides at once, hold down Shift and click anywhere. And boom, all of them are selected. No matter where we go, everything's selected. By the way, the shortcut to key Z still works. Even if you have the paint bucket tool, it still works really well. So anyway, we'll click only on the top here, the floor, that the player is going to see. So now we want to give it that tile. Since we've already used the concrete floor tiles, it is in our, if we click this little top drop-down list here, you see current texture inside the Face Edit sheet. You click this and it'll drop down a list of textures. Right here we have the 2 textures we've already used, Tools NoDraw and Concrete Floor. So I don't need to look for it again. It's already here. If I wanted to find a brand new one, I would click Browse, and it opens up the browser. And let's say I want to do grass, so I'll search for grass, and I can choose a grass texture of my choosing, but I don't want that, so we'll click here, and now you see the grass is here, the concrete floor is here, the tools are here, and then there's a little line separating it from these are all of the textures, but we don't want all that. So again, I'll click concrete floor, and then you click apply, and ta-da, here we are. It's looking pretty good now. We have concrete floor on here, and we have NoDraw on all the others. So when we play our map, only this part will have the texture, and everything else will be invisible, and again, make the game happy. And if the game's happy, we're happy. So let's see here. What else? There's a lot of things on this face edit sheet. I'll go into those things later, not for this class. We'll be taking up too much time. So we can close out of that, and now we have this. But unfortunately, we still can't play our map even though it looks like it. Because imagine all this black space as literally space, outer space. There's nothing here, there's a vacuum. If we go here, the fluids will be drained from our eyes, we'll puke and defecate ourselves simultaneously, and eventually we'll die. So we don't want to test our level like this. This is bad. What you want to do is you want to have it so that your player is constantly inside an airtight case. Now that may sound a little weird. You're probably thinking to yourself, but you want to make outside areas. You know, you want it to be free and open. But don't worry, we'll focus on that later. All you really have to know is that, in general, you want your levels to be airtight. You don't want any what are called leaks to the outside, to this black abyss here. If you do, it'll create errors and eventually not be good for your map. So here we are, we have the floor. And now what we want to do is let's create some walls. Here's what we do. We'll go to the brush tool, and now we're going to create some walls. On the top view, we can see from the blue lines here, we can see the edges of our room. So let's create a wall on the left here. So we'll click on this here, and we'll click and drag out a shape. As we can see, this wall is a little bit larger than the room, but that's good because we don't want the wall going inside the room. Like here, I'll go to the 3D viewpoint, and you can kind of see where our wall is going to be. If I put it here, if I lined it up like that, the wall would be going inside the room, therefore making the room more cramped, and we don't want that. So again, just kind of build your wall so that it's right up against the side of your room. And as you can see right now, it's certainly not a wall. It's more of a patio, if anything. So you need to go to your side views, or front, and then here we can click and drag and create the size. So I'll grab this top handle here, and I can drag it up. Let's make this a fairly large room, maybe about that high. And now, again, this is sort of a preference. Just for efficiency's sake, I'm going to drag the bottom of the wall up so that way it's level with the floor. Because if I had it down, it'd be below the floor, and therefore, again, it makes our map inefficient because the wall will be below the floor. The player will never see the wall down here, yet the game will constantly, your computer will constantly have to keep thinking about it, therefore making it slower and perform less. So we're going to bring the wall up so that way it's flush with the floor. There's no extra space, and it's nice. Now, we don't want the same concrete floor for our walls, so before I hit enter to confirm that this is the size and shape of the wall I want, I'm going to click on Browse, and I'm going to choose something else. Again, maybe I'll just search wall this time and see what we get. Yeah, you know, let's do a brick wall, a plain brick wall. That sounds good. So I double click on the texture. It's in the preview, so now when I hit enter, ta-da! But you know what? I forgot. I'm inside. I made a very inefficient wall. So again, I'm going to click on the little drop-down list here next to the texture browser. I'm going to choose NoDraw. Click the Apply Texture button here, so that all of it is NoDraw again. And then I'm going to use the face editor to select only the side that the player is going to see. And then using the drop-down list, it'll show our current textures, and there's brick wall. And I'm going to select it and hit Apply. So there, again, we have a very efficient wall. It lines up perfectly with the floor. It lines up perfectly with the sides of the room, and only the side that we're going to see has the texture. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to create walls for the rest of the room. You could do that individually by creating one brush at a time, but as you see, it maintains that shape. You have to resize it. Oh yeah, here's a good piece of advice. I'm going to hit escape, which will cancel out the brush creation. You'll notice how whenever I create a new brush, it's always the same size as, it's always the same height as the floor. What happens is when you create a new brush, it always maintains the size or the height. It maintains the dimensions of the last thing that you had selected. So if I want to make walls really quickly, what I'll do is I'll do the selection tool and I'll select the wall. And then I'll deselect the wall. And since the wall was the last thing I selected, when I create a new brush, it'll default to the size of the wall. So that makes creating things a whole lot faster. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the chosen texture the NoDraw texture, and I'm going to quickly draw brushes all around our room. See, all I have to do is just make the size in the top view, and it automatically is the correct size in the side views, side and front views, because the wall was the last thing I had selected. There we go. Let's fly inside a bit, take a look around. Our player is now surrounded by 4 walls. I can use the texture editor. I'll go inside and I'll just click. Remember, using control I can select multiple walls. So I'll use control and I'll select multiple walls here. And then I'll use the drop down list. There's brick, apply. There we are. So now we're completely encapsulated, or completely surrounded by our walls here. So now the last step is to create a ceiling. And then we'll be completely locked in and we can actually test our level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a really quick way to make brushes. This is really help you out and work a lot faster. We'll select our floor here, and now there's a way to duplicate walls. Basically what you do is once it's selected, or duplicate brushes, once it's selected, you hold Alt and then you click and drag your selected object. Now I have two hold on, there we are. I have, oh, what the heck, it just moved. You know what, I'm thinking of Photoshop, not Alt, Shift. You hold Shift and click and drag, and bump, bump, bump. When you release, make sure you release the mouse button before you release Shift. There we go. Now our floor's down there, and now we have the exact same brush, just shifted upwards. Again, to do that, you just hold down Shift and you click and drag, and boom, you make clones. So you can make as many as you want, and once you have... So this is a really quick way to make walls. Again, I'll delete my walls here, and I can easily recreate them by simply Shift and dragging. And boom, I have a wall that's the exact same shape, and I can just translate it. So, or I can just shift it around and then resize it as necessary. But, you know what, let's undo that because I already had my walls all set up all nice, because then you have to repaint them if you do them that way. But here we are. Oh, it looks like I I backspaced a little bit too much, so Shift, drag, boom, we got our ceiling. Okay, I think everyone understands that. Again, I'm going to give this brush the all NoDraw texture because no one's going to see that part. Now I'm flying back inside, and I'm going to use the paint tool to get a ceiling texture. So I'm going to browse, and let's browse for ceiling. See what that gives us. This seems to be a nice, plain, certainly not nice, kind of ugly, but I don't really care. Ceiling texture. Here we are. We're in our room. So now there are no leaks to the outside vacuum of space, and we're nice contained, and we're ready to play. So now that we have this all set up, we're going to do what's called compiling our map. First off, let's save. So File, Save, and since we haven't saved before, it'll bring up the Save As dialog here. And since we went into the tools earlier, and we told it to save our .vmfs inside our sourceSDK content map source folder, this is where it takes us. As you see here, let's just call it, here we are, mod camp. No, let's just call it first map. First map. That's what I'm going to call it. Save. And now we're going to do what's called compiling. This is where Hammer takes all the things we did, all the geometry, and it's going to turn it into something that we can actually play in. And it's going to save it as a .bsp. You can't go File, Save As, and go first map, .bsp. It doesn't work like that. So don't try doing it that way. You have to compile the map. To compile it, you can either hit F9, which is the shortcut key, or you hit this cool little controller up here. You hit that, run map. You seem very excited. You click on that, and it brings up the compile dialog box. I'll explain these settings in a second. We don't need to worry about that. The main thing you want to have selected, though, is the don't run the game after compiling. What this does, if you don't have that checked, if I click OK, it'll build my map, it'll save it as a .bsp, and then it'll try opening up Team Fortress 2 and playing my level. Well, that's okay, but I don't want to play it in Team Fortress. I want to play it in Gary's mod because I did that before. So I want to say don't run the game. Not only that, but also if you're working like making lots of changes on your map and you're constantly compiling and to see how your changes affect the game, it'll cause errors because if you have, like, let's say I was modding for Half-Life 2. I click OK, Half-Life 2 opens up, my map loads, yay, I run around, I have fun, and then I minimize Half-Life 2, I change something, I compile, and if I don't have this checked, it's going to yell at me and say, hey, Half-Life 2 is already open, I can't open it again. So it's really just best to have this checked. Just do it yourself. So we'll click OK, and the compile window will open. And it opened up off screen. Here's what it looks like. It happens, our map is fairly simple and compiling only took a couple minutes, or no, it only took a couple seconds. Once you have more complex maps, once you have like really big outdoor areas, lots of different props, lots of lighting, lots of characters, it'll take longer for your map to compile. This stuff you don't really need to worry about. It's very good for troubleshooting, but again, this is more advanced stuff. I'll try and explain it in the future lesson, but we aren't going to worry about it now. Once it's done, you'll know it's done because it'll say copy to clipboard at the bottom here. That means it's finished. You can just close out of this window, and good. So now we have a .bsp file saved inside our Gary's Mod Maps folder. You know what? I'm going to open that up right now just to kind of show you that it's there. It's actually there. I'm going to open up my Gary's Mod folder. Here we are. And underneath maps, here we are. Here's a couple maps I have. And where is it? There it is. First map. And as you see down here, it's a .bsp file. So, oh, let's see here. Access is denied. Okay, looks like Citron... Sorry, I've been doing a really bad job of keeping up with the chat. It's really hard to monitor it, and also... Yeah, so anyway, let's see here. Access denied. Okay, it's probably because that folder does not exist yet. Here's what I'd recommend doing. To anyone else who's having this problem, if you're modding for TF2 or Gary's Mod or Half-Life 2, be sure that you run your game at least once. Because if you don't run the game, then those folders don't exist. So when Hammer tries to save your map as a .bsp file inside the map directory, it won't know where to put it, and it'll probably tell you something like access denied because it doesn't exist. So, wrong folder, a moment. So, anyway, here we are, first map. Yeah, let's see. So run your map, run the game first, because if you don't run the game, like I say, the folders won't be created, and therefore you may run into errors like this. I played Gary's Mod quite a bit, so these folders already exist, so I didn't have any problem with it. It may run smoothly for you. That's just something you need to look out for. And again, if you have any problems, just contact me and I'll help you troubleshoot it. I can't really predict everything that can go wrong, but I'll try and, I'll try and make sure that you're prepared for just about anything. Here we are. So again, it's created. We've verified that the file does exist inside our maps folder. You don't need to actually check it. I'm just showing you for the sake of saying, oh, see, I'm right. And I know what I'm talking about. So anyway, there it is. We can close out of this. And now time to actually test our map. This is the really fun part. So, like I said, I'm modding for Gary's Mod. Let's just open up... I'm going to open up Gary's Mod right now. There might be a little bit of a lag in the stream. Sorry for that. Just, my laptop isn't the greatest thing on earth, so I don't know how well it's going to handle this. Yeah, it looks like I dropped a couple of frames. Oh well. Okay, here. I'm going to move Gary's Mod into the window so you can actually see it here. It's on my second window. Yeah, one moment. Have I just stopped completely, it sounds like? Yeah. Okay, so we're back. Here we are. I have Gary's Mod in here. Hopefully you can see it alright. I have it open in a window right now. So I'm going to do Start New Game. And Other. Because our map isn't part of any actual, these are organized by how you name it. So if I went to Ultimate Chimera Hunt, any maps with CH underscore in front of them will be here. Our map doesn't have anything like Arena or CP for Capture Point. So we go to Other. This is where we can find our map. First map, there we are. If you don't have, if you're running in something else like Half-Life 2, here I'll show you how to do that. You need to open up the developer console by going to Options, Keyboard, Advanced, Enable Developer Console. This is sort of this is used for debugging. It's for developers. And guess what? You're a developer now, so you get to use it. So here we go. You hit the tilde key, which is to the left of the 1 and above tab on your keyboard, in case you don't know what it is. And it'll open up something like, you can't see. Okay, never mind. But normally, okay, whatever. This is for Gary's mod. I'll show you how to load your map through the console in case you're modding for something like Half-Life 2 or something. So we do Other, and we'll double-click First Map. Here it is loading. Okay, did we lose the stream? Yeah, I guess so. No? Alright. Okay, so we're back. Okay, sorry. Well, yeah, it's lagging because my computer's trying to load the level. So anyway, here we are. We're in our map. Nothing to really shake a stick at, but hey, you know, we're here. We did this. We started from nothing and we created this. Feels pretty good. So if any of you are following along, so if any of you are following along, congratulations, you made your first map. And yeah, as you can see, it's not very pretty. Everything is very bright. There's no shadowing or anything. Doesn't look very good. But, you know, we're here. And that's what's important. So, ta-da, we have our map. So now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to load another map so I can demonstrate how to use the developer console to do something like to launch our level. Like I said, if you're not using Gary's mod, and if you're using something like Half-Life 2 or Counter-Strike or Left 4 Dead, well, maybe not Left 4 Dead. Oh, Rafi, no, I'll explain those settings in just a moment as far as like compiling goes. So you don't have to worry about this. Let's see. Again, I think we're gonna lose the stream here because it's loading. Okay, I'm back. So anyway, I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if I got cut off, but yeah, I'll go over those compile options in a moment. So here we are in game, looking good. So now, if you're inside a game like Half-Life 2, you'll want to use the developer console to launch your map. Hit the tilde key, again, that's to the left of the 1 and above tab. Hit that. And this is the developer console. This is a way to use, if you're familiar with using cheats and everything, this shouldn't be anything new. But to load a map from the developer console, you type map, space, and then the name of your map. So, first map. And you can see it down there. You can go down and click on it, or you can hit up and down to select it. Map, first map. Hit enter. And there we go. We're probably going to lose connection here, or like it's going to lag. Just stay with it. Okay, so it's loading. And that's it. It's not going to be anything new. Again, this is just, I'm demonstrating this for those who aren't going to be modding for Gary's mod like I am right now. Okay, here we are. Now, if I go back in the hammer, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to open up hammer again. If I make changes to this map, like change some of the colors on the walls, I'm not going to see it change in the game because I have to recompile it every time I want to see changes. So hit the tilde key again, and you're back. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the main menu, so that way the game will take up less memory, hopefully. There we go. So we're back in hammer. So now we're getting almost near the end of the lesson. I'm just going to kind of go into some of the more finer points of mapping, just because, well, not finer points. I'm just going to show you the more exciting parts, because right now we have, again, these have just been the basics. This is how to create a level you can walk around in. So now I'm going to show you how to make a light, so that way we can actually illuminate our level. Here we go. So we go ahead, we A light is created by a point entity. A light isn't a 3D block somewhere, so it has to be a point entity. Click on the entity tool, and now down here in the objects info player start, we want to choose light. Now there's lots of entities on here, and you can scroll through it by hand if you want, but a really quick way is once it's highlighted in blue, you can just start typing. So I'm going to type light, and boom, it automatically filters it for me. So now I can see everything that has the word light in it. So here we are. Hit light up here. And there's a lot of different types of lights. I'll go into those later, but we just want simple light. This is basically acts as if it was a light bulb. No lampshades, no nothing, just a bare, big, naked light bulb. So we're going to put this in the middle of our room, so that way it hopefully evenly distributes everything. So we're going to zoom in a little bit here on the top view. And again, just click, and you can position where the light's going to be. So I want it right in the middle. And now we look at the side view. Right now the light is right on the floor. So we're going to move it up a bit so it's more hanging in the air there. We can use the 3D view to kind of check and make sure that that's where it is. Yep, right over our player's head. And then we hit enter. Ding. So here we are. Here's what a light entity looks like. Just floating there. So now I'm going to recompile my map. I'm going to hit this, and now I'm going to actually kind of explain what these things do, because now that we have a light, these are kind of important. Run BSP, run VIS, and run RAD are the three basically thought processes that go into compiling a map. Run BSP does all the very essential things. As well, there is actually a way to turn it off, but that's for some very specific troubleshooting. You'll probably never need to turn that off. What BSP does is it saves all the geometry and entities into the .bsp file. So if you don't do this, you'll have things like the ground will be missing or entities will be missing. So yeah, you want to keep this on normal. You'll probably never want to change that. VIS has to do with the way your map runs in the way of optimization, like how smoothly it runs. It basically does some very detailed technical things, but it isn't required. So if you want to test your map really, really quick, hit no. But if you want your map to look better and run better, you want either fast or normal. Basically, fast and normal determines the quality. Fast is just, it does the job, but it does it really fast, and it cuts corners. Normal takes longer, but you'll get better results. RAD is the most time-consuming of all of them. RAD has to do with figuring out the lighting. If we click no, that'll save you tons of time of compiling. It means you can go right into testing your map without hardly having to wait. But everything will be super bright, as you saw. So you can either choose fast or normal, so that way your level actually has lighting. Fast is obviously, it's cheaper looking, it'll look more fuzzy. Well, when I say fuzzy, I'll show you later. Like the shadows won't be as clear. The shadows will be more fuzzy, whereas normal you'll have cleaner, more sharp shadows. And then you can turn on, you can turn on HDR. We aren't going to do that. HDR will basically double how much time it takes to compile. So we're not going to mess with that right now. You only want to use HDR and normal when you're ready to release a map. Like, okay, you're really happy with the way it looks. We want to compile the final version that we're going to upload to the internet and let people play on. So I'm going to set everything to fast right now, so that way we can get right into the game. So again, don't run the game and hit OK. So now this is going to take a bit longer this time to compile. Maybe not an exceptionally long amount of time. Okay, there, it's done already. Like I said, my laptop isn't that strong, and I was able to compile it fairly fast. So again, it says copy to clipboard. We're done. So let's open up Gary's mod again. Here we are. Bring it back into view. And start new game. And we'll relaunch our game. Again, if you're using Half-Life 2, just redo it through the developer console. Here we are, and oh, voila, look at that. Got some nice shading going on here. So now our light is all set up, and it looks really good. But still, so yeah, that's it. From here on, you can basically do almost anything, really. I mean, here you can make. I think we're kind of done in a sense. I mean, there's a couple more things I want to teach you. Like I wanted to create a second room with a hallway. But I'm going to try and move a little bit faster because I guess maybe you shouldn't really attempt that until after you've experimented, confirm that you can make a level all by yourself and everything. But yeah, I guess that's it. So here, again, if you're done, if you can't wait to start making maps, you don't need the, you can leave if you want and get right to it. I'm not going to stop you. But if you want to learn to do a little bit more, make your maps a little bit more interesting, stick around and I'll quickly show you how to do a couple neat tricks. What we're going to do is oh, geez, really? Oh, yeah, we lost internet. Okay, one moment. Sorry. Well, I've still got to connect. Oh, no, yay, we're... Freaking internet. Okay. I guess it just comes back online. It feels like it. Alright, I think we're back now. Okay, sorry about that. My internet never really does this, of course, unless I'm doing something important. So here we are. We're back. I have internet again. I'm sure we probably lost a couple people during that, but if you stayed, awesome. Again, basically what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how to change light, or I'm going to create a second room that's going to be just like this one, and I'm going to connect it with a hallway. And then I'm going to show you how to edit lights, so that way you can change the color. I'll show you how to like open up the settings page. So yeah, you'll be able to change the color, change the brightness, and then I'm going to show you how to make props, so you can start decorating your levels and making them feel more alive. So here we go. We're going to create this second room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the parts. I'm going to select, whoa, whoops. Still have the entity tool selected, so I created another light on the floor. Don't want that, so I'm going to hit delete. Guess I have to select it first. Delete. Okay, there we go. So selection tool, I'm going to select walls, ceiling, floor, all the parts of our room. And now I'm going to quickly make a clone of our room by holding shift. I'm on the top view here. And I'm going to shift and drag over here, just off to the side a little bit. Okay, so here we are. We have a second room. Now they're completely disconnected, and this one doesn't have a light either, so it's going to be a spooky room. So here we are. This wall here that the player is facing, we're going to put our hallway. Now, how do we make a hallway? Here's how we do it. We're going to start with our doorway. We're going to use the selection tool, and we're only going to select this wall. And now I'm going to show you a pretty useful tool called the cutting tool, or the clipping tool, I believe it's more officially called. What we're going to do is we're going to select this tool, and what this is basically, think of it as a knife, and we're going to use it to carve up some clay. So we're going to zoom in on this wall here, and I'm going to make this hallway, let's make it 2 units wide, right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag, and it's going to create a line connected by 2 points. One point is going to be where I clicked, and then where I first clicked, and the second point is where I'm dragging. As you can see, I can resize it. So this shows you where the world is going to be sliced. If I do this like that, we have, you see half of it is white and half of it is red. The white part is what we're going to keep, and the red part is going to get discarded. So if I hit enter right now, chop, it's gone. That isn't exactly what we want, so I'm going to hit Control Z. Again, I have to reselect the wall again, kind of a hassle, but anyway. Choose the clipping tool. I'm going to create the line, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the clipping tool again. What this will do is this will invert our cutting selection. There, so now the top part is white and the bottom part is red. But that's still not what we want. If you click it a third time, both parts are white. So that way nothing will be discarded when we cut. So I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to go down 2 units, and I'm going to put another horizontal cut. So now we have what will be our door frame here. We'll click on it, we only want the middle part. So here's where our door is going to be. So what I'm going to do is, once I have this middle part carved out using the clipping tool, I'm going to go to one of the side views here, and I'm going to drag the bottom, and I'm going to lift it. Boop. There we go. So now that it's lifted up, we actually have a doorway. That's a very quick way to make doors. You can make doors multiple other ways, but that is the very, that's the very quick way. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, so that there's another doorway for our hallway to branch to. So I'm going to select this wall. Again, get the cutting tool. And I want to make sure it lines up, so I'm going to click here and drag. There we are. Hit enter, cut. Do it again for the bottom, cut. There we are. Our other wall is now cut up. Choose the selection tool, click on the far off wall, and again lift it using the side view or front view, and lift it so that the doorway is the same height as the other one. Boom, so now we have two identical doors, one on each side. So now we actually have to create a hallway to bridge them. Again, you can make the hallway however you want, just make sure that it is airtight and that there's no leaks going out into the vacuum here. I'm going to do that by, first I'm going to create the floor for our hallway, choose the brush tool, and again, for the sake of efficiency, do NoDraw. Again, if you don't like NoDraw, I know someone had, I think I read briefly that I lost someone on the NoDraw part. Again, that's not super important. Hold on a minute.
They're a little confused. We're moving a little too fast. A lot of them don't understand what we meant by cut and make
Okay.
and stuff. So.
Okay, you know what? It seems like a lot of people got left behind when I started bringing in the clipping. So, thankfully I have Saber here as I guess teacher's assistant, helping me out because it's really hard to keep track of the chat. But here we are. So I'm going to restart. You don't need to pay attention to this. I'm basically just putting the walls back to the way they were before I started cutting everything up. Okay, here we are. Okay, the rooms are right back to where they used to be. I'm going to read the chat really quick because Saber says I need to. Yeah, if you're not listening, I am, and apply it to your skin. We are all behind, but I didn't understand. Yep, I have no idea where we are, so I'm going to just wait for the YouTube video. You know everything about what about you help us, what is it then? I compile my hammer tool crashes. Why is it then okay, I think he is ignoring us. No love. Sorry. Oh, lol. Serge, can you repeat the part? How do you cut? I don't understand. Please, I'm not the only one. Lol. Oh, well, I'll wait for the video. Talk to you later, bitches. Could you tell me how to stop it from crashes when I compiled? Didn't click on anything. Just leave it. Okay. So anyway, again, if you're having problems with compiling and stuff, you don't need to follow along right now. Contact me after we're done, and I'll try helping you troubleshoot. Or perhaps I'll have another private session where I'll just repeat things and just... Yeah, I think I'll have another session after this where I'll just answer questions. But until then, this is basically for the sake of the YouTube video and just for lessons in general. So I'm going to complete this lesson before I try helping anyone. So again, I'll just repeat this since it seemed like this went over some people's heads. I need to create a hallway. So to create a hallway, I need two doorways, one in each room. So I need to create a hole for the player to walk through. I could do that by... There's multiple different ways I could do it. But the fastest way is to carve up this wall here. And to carve it up, I need to use the clipping tool. Again, once you have an object selected, you choose the clipping tool, and then you click and drag to create a line. This line will cut through whatever you want. Well, it'll cut through brushes. So normally it looks like this, where half of it is white and half of it is red. The white part is what part will be kept when I cut, and the red part will disappear when I cut. I don't want any parts to disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it again, which inverts it, switches it, and then I'm going to click on it a second time, which makes it so no parts are lost. If I click on it, it just keeps switching between the two or three modes. I want it so that no parts are lost. So from the top view, I'm going to look up and down, and I'm going to move these 2 points so that way this wall is being cut horizontally right here. And I hit enter to confirm the cut. I click and drag to make a second one, and I'm going to make sure that this cut is 2 units below this one. And when I say 2 units below, I mean 2 units to the right, I suppose, like 2 units to the side. Like we look here on the 3D view, it's to the side. So I hit enter to confirm the cut. So now this wall that used to be 1 brush is now 3. There's 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and this middle one. But obviously there's still no way for the player to walk through. So all you have to do is, you from the side view, either front or side, you click and drag the bottom here, and you make it, you just drag it up, basically sort of like lifting it so that the player can walk through. So here we are, a nice square doorway. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this far off wall. I'm going to choose the clipping tool, and again I'm going to make 2 cuts, one here and one here. So that way this doorway is the same exact size as the other one. Again, now this wall is now made of 3 parts. It used to be just 1 brush, now it's 3 brushes. I want to choose the middle one, and I want it to be the same size as the initial doorway, so I'm going to drag it up 2 units. There, so now they're the same size. I can look here and I can see they're not the same. So there you go. Now that they're identical, I will now move on to actually creating the walkway or the hallway that will take us here. Again, like I said, the really important thing, you can make the hallway however you want. The important part is to not make it exposed to the darkness of space. So I'm going to go to the brush tool. I have the NoDraw texture selected, and then using the top tool, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bridge the gap. There we are. The gap has been bridged, but now as we look at the side view, it's the incorrect height. So I'm going to drag this down so that it's the floor. There we go, it's the floor. But now in the 3D view, you can see it doesn't quite match up. I'm going to hit enter to make it. It looks good on the top view. It looks like it's flush, but you see here the floor doesn't come out as far as the walls. So the wall, so we look at the 3D view, we kind of get a good view here. We can look at the top, and we see we need to bring it in closer to the floor, so that way it matches. So I'm going to click and drag left and right. Whoops, wrong. Come on. Left, we dragged it to the left and drag it to the right. So now we go to 3D view. There, it goes right up there. It goes right up to the wall, right up to the floor. Here's a little demonstration of what it'll look like if you drag it too far. You'll start getting this really nasty flickering look. That's because our hallway is going into the floor of the room. So that lets you know you've gone too far. So let's back it up a little. There, it's nice and flush. And now I'm going to give it a texture. On the top again, we only want to choose the side that the player is going to see, which is this one. And let's give it the same tile as that. There we go. So now let's create some walls, so that way we don't fall out. Do the brush tool, and then on the top view, again I'm going to just check and make sure that NoDraw is selected. There we go, a wall over here. And we go from the side front view and we see that, again, it snapped itself to the floor height, so we have to change that. Let's make it 2 units tall. Let's bring up the bottom here so that way it's flush with the floor. So we're looking at the 3D view. It goes right up to the height of the doorway. It goes right down to the floor, and it's good. So that'll make a wall. So hit enter. Boom, we got our wall. And now before I give it a texture, I'm going to shift and drag to clone it and put an identical wall on the other side. Again, I use the top view to do that. So there we are. We have 2 walls on either side. Now I'm going to paint them. I'm going to give them the brick texture. There we go. Now, as we see here, we have some NoDraw left over from when we did all that cutting. So what I'm going to do is select the NoDraw that's left over here on both sides, and I'm going ahead and give that the brick texture. There we go. So now there's no more NoDraw to be seen. Looks good. But now we still need a ceiling. To do that, I am going to just create it from scratch. Again, set our texture of the NoDraw. New brush tool, and now from the top view, I'm going to drag out the shape of the hallway. Now in the 3D preview, it looks like it's going to be the right size, but again, it's not the right height, so we have to go to the side view, make it taller, and then drag up the bottom so that way it's not in the way. Oops. Okay. Drag up the bottom so it's not in the way. There we go. So now we look up, and this is where our ceiling's going to be. Perfect. So hit enter to confirm, and there we go. So now we have we have 2 rooms, and now they're connected by an airtight hallway that won't leak into the space and give us leak errors. So we'll go ahead, we'll click on that, and we'll give it the ceiling texture. Okay, now that looks kind of ugly having the bricks there, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to give these 2 bricks the ceiling texture. There we go. So now we have one room that the player will start in with a light source, and then we have a room here that connects to our second room that we made. And now before we test it, I'm going to put a second light in here. I'm going to click on the entity, and we already have light selected. If you don't, you know how to get it. And now we're going to place it in the hallway. Now, as we can see here, the hallway, our grid is too big. I can't put the light directly in the middle because it won't snap. So I'm going to lower our grid size. Now I can place the light right in the middle of the hallway. Again, I placed it in the middle from the top view. Now I'm just going to make sure that's the right height. Right now it's currently outside of the hallway, so I need to lower it. Let's put it right there. We see in 3D view that it is indeed inside our hallway, so I'll hit enter to confirm it. There we go. So now I'm going to show you how to change properties of entities, like how to make the light a different color or a different brightness or give it like special effects. I'm going to right click on the light, and I'm going to go down to properties here at the bottom. This opens up the property page, which is right here. Opens up the property page for the light. Another quick way to open up the property page, I'm going to cancel all that, is to hit Alt-Enter. That's the shortcut key to bring up the property page. So when you have the light selected, hit Alt-Enter, or right-click and go to Properties. So here we are, Object Properties Light. It shows us the class of entity it is, which is in this case it is a light. You can give it a name, which is important for later if we wanted to make like a light switch to turn the light on and off. That's more advanced, and I won't go into that. But here we are, brightness. This is how you change the brightness and the color. For those of you who don't know, color on the computer is comprised of 3 values: red, green, and blue, I believe. And they go from 0 to 255. These are what these numbers here. So 255, 255, 255 means it's really red, it's really green, and really blue. And when you mix all those colors together, you get white. So 25, 20, or 255, 255, 255 means it's a white light. And the number here at the end, 200, that's how bright it is. So I'm going to make it, I'm going to keep this one 200. And then we do here, pick color. If you don't like editing these numbers here, which I don't blame you, click pick color. And this brings up a really easy to understand color palette. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a red light here in the hallway. I choose the hue, red, and then I choose the brightness. So right now it's really white. I'm going to drag this down so that it's a nice, really vibrant red. So now once I have it, hit OK. So there we are. So we have, now you see 255, 255, 255 changed, so now the red value is still 255, the strongest, but the green and blue values have lowered to 6 and 13, making the color a vibrant red. Anyway, here we are. These other settings are, you can mess around with them. They have to do with the lights. Really, those are things you just play around with. If you want, I can maybe have a more advanced lesson about it. If anything, you might want to do maybe appearance. Appearance, you can do things like flickering, like fluorescent flicker, slow strong pulse, slow pulse, no black, gentle pulse, flicker, candle. You can give your light, I guess, so it's animated. It's not a constant brightness. It flickers or strobes, does whatever. Something else that's really important when inside the objects property page here is flags. Right now, flags has really like special abilities, like special properties. Like right now, initially dark. So if you want your light to be off initially and you have to turn it on, you want that. You want to check that, but we don't. We want this light on. Different entities have different properties. Like you can have a door, like if you create a door entity, you can, under flags, you'll have things like start locked, or don't make a noise, or spin around 360, Things that aren't inside the class info tab here are inside your flags. So class info and flags are the 2 places where you can really personalize entities. So when we're done, just click apply to confirm it and cancel. When we clicked apply, you see our light bulb here changed from white to red. Now I'm not going to put a light in this room just so we can show the difference created of not having lights. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh yeah, so we changed the color of that one, but I'm going to change the brightness of this one. So using the select tool, I'm going to select our white light that we created. I'm going to hit Alt-Enter to bring up the properties. And now under the brightness field here, I'm going to change the number 200 here. I'm going to change it to 800. That should quadruple the strength of our light, making this room fairly bright. And this light will be about a normal color, and then this room will be completely dark, so we'll have a nice contrast when we play our map. So again, I'm going to go up, hit compile. We aren't doing this for anything professional, so we're going to keep everything fast so we can get into our game. Hit OK. The compile window opens up. I'm going to try and bring it into view. There we go. So our compiling's done. Close out of it. And now I'm going to open up Gary's mod. And then I'm going to start the map. And we can see what our changes did. And we're going to check to make sure that everything's working. Ta-da! Here we are. Okay, so our room is quite a bit brighter now. As you can see, the highlights up there are very nice. And we have our red light in the hallway. Looks very creepy. And then we come in here, and it's dark, even creepier. So yeah, now our level's feeling much more vivid, much more real, and much more interesting place to be. So I think that pretty much concludes it. I think the last thing I'll do is just kind of show how to drop a couple props in your level to kind of make things feel more furnished, more lived in. Because right now we kind of feel like we're imprisoned, you know, it's just there's no doors, no windows. If you're claustrophobic, I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is what we have. So let's throw some props in here, give it a bit more personality. I'm going to disconnect, minimize, let's go back to hammer. Props are 3D models, and they are point entities. That's how you place them. You place them the same way you place lights, the same way we place the player start. So here we go. Oh yeah, I guess one more thing I'll touch on before we move on to the last topic here is the player start. If I click on him and I go to Alt-Enter, I can see his properties. He doesn't have nearly as many properties as the light does. But one thing he does have up here at the top right, angle. I can choose where he's looking at first. Right now he's looking to the right. If I move this down, he'll look down. I click Apply. Boom, he changes. I can have him look this way. I can have him look that way. You can type it in normally. I'm just going to set it back to 0 because it's fine. I like starting off. But you know, not all your levels, you know, that's just a way to have more control. Let's see if he has any flags. Master, okay. He doesn't really have any flags. I just wanted to show that off. So anyway, let's go on to making props. Let's put, how about, ooh, since this is a dark room, let's put a Halloween prop from TF2. Let's put like a pumpkin or something over here in the corner, just to add to the spook factor of our room. Again, props are point entities, so we'll need the entity tool. And then down here, we'll type prop. Whoa, we have quite a lot of props here. I'll go into the 3 basic props that you'll want to use. There's prop dynamic is the basic one. It's the most expensive out of all the props. When I say expensive, I mean it's the hardest for your computer to think about. If you have lots of prop dynamics, you're going to notice performance hits to your game. It's going to run slower, you're going to have frame rate drops, it's going to lag. That's not to say you can't have a lot, just the more you have, the pricier it's going to be on your computer. But these prop dynamics also do the most. You can see them, you can touch them, and they can animate, and they can even be destroyed. Prop physics are props that have physics applied to them. So if you want to have a bucket that you can kick around, shoot, knock around, stuff like that, or a tire that you can roll, or a boulder that you want to come rolling down a hill, you'll want it to be a prop physics. Prop physics aren't as expensive as prop dynamic because they can't animate, but they are still pretty expensive. So be careful and don't use too many, I suppose. And then there's prop static. Prop static is the cheapest prop you can use. You can see it, you can touch it, but that's it. No animations, no physics. It just sits there. But it's good. So it's probably the most common. It's very cheap to use, so therefore it won't slow your game down too much, so you can have a ton of them. Let's go over here, and let's place it right here in the corner. You here's something, if you don't like using the top view or the front view or the side view, I don't blame you. It's kind of confusing. Like I said, it grows on you. You just need practice. But if you don't like placing things like this, now that we actually have a level, what you can do is you can just go to 3D view, and when you have your entity tool selected, you can just point and click where you want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to point at the corner here. Boop, there we go. Here is our prop static. Sure doesn't look like a pumpkin, doesn't look like anything, it's just a block. That's because it hasn't been told what it should be yet. It is a prop static, but now we're going to need to give it the properties, and we're going to need to give it a model. So once it's selected, which it already is, hit Alt-Enter to bring up the property tab. The main thing we're going to want here is the world model. Click on that, and as you see, it's empty. There's nothing here. Now this is where things get fun. Well, funner, if that's a word. So anyway, we click Browse. And this will open up the 3D model viewer. Not the same 3D model viewer that was inside the sourceSDK. This is a special model viewer just for Hammer. So anyway, I'm modding for TF2, so I know that they have Halloween props. So I'm going to do a search for pumpkin. Not that. Pumpkin. There we are. Down here at the bottom, this is where I typed it, the filter field, pumpkin. And, oh, you can't see my mouse for some reason. Well, okay, yeah, you can. So anyway, the filter field here, pumpkin. Again, let's see here. Yeah, pumpkin. So now it gives all these different pumpkins. I can left click inside this window here and I can rotate it and I can look at it from different views. It's really nice. I can use my mouse. Well, no, I can't. I can yeah, there you go. Right click and drag to zoom in and out. Anyway, here's our list of files. So let's start looking through them. Pumpkin big, pumpkin small. The grid that you see kind of gives you a good reference of how big it is. So imagine this being a tabletop. You can see how big it is. That one, it's okay. Pumpkin big, boom. You can see it's bigger because it takes up more space here on the grid. So anyway, item class, pumpkin hat. Oh, okay, so that is a hat. I don't know if we can place that. Maybe I could. Maybe I'll put that in the corner. We'll see. Well, here's a good way to test. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Right here we have different tabs: render, sequence, activity, skins. Sequence, if this model has an animation, we can view them here. It does not. It just has one called idle, which is just sitting there, which means it doesn't have an animation. Let's go to info. Info will show us what type of props this model supports. So pumpkin hat demo. So this is the demo. This is the demo's pumpkin hat from the game. As you can see, only dynamic is checked. Right now, we're trying to place a static prop. So if I chose this model and we ran the game, we'd get an error sign or nothing would be there. They won't work. So there we are. Static. It's not there. So we can't use this. So let's keep scrolling down. These are all hats. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. Pumpkin lantern. Oh, that looks... oh, that's pretty cute and that's cool. But I know there's one that glows. I guess that's for the demo. That's still an item. It's not static, so we can't use it. Okay, here we are. Here's some more pumpkins. Pumpkin 1, no. Pumpkin 2, pumpkin 3, pumpkin explode. Pumpkin explode, another one. Oh, those are Gibbs. Okay, pumpkin loot. Oh, come on. I thought they had a jack-o'-lantern. Maybe it's not called pumpkin. Maybe it's called jack-o'-lantern. I'll do a search for Jack. Okay, we got quite a few things. Pump Jack Skybox, Power Jack. Scout Halloween track jacket, open jacket. Oh man. Oh, Jack-o'-lantern. Here we are. I knew it. Okay, so Jack-o'-lantern 1. Oh, Jack-o'-lantern 2. Let's go with that one. Let's go with the basic. And as you can see here, static is checked, meaning that yes, this will work for what we want. So let's click OK. There we are, and hit apply. Boom. There it is. Perfect. It's beautiful. So it's looking in the corner. It's a shy pumpkin. So we're going to use the angles that we learned about to fix that. Let's try spinning it around. Right now it's at 0. Let's try, let's do a 180, see what that does. Let's spin it around, hit apply. Okay, that's good. Now it's looking the right way. Let's make it go over here a little. And a little bit more, apply. There we go. So now we got this pumpkin looking good, but it's floating off the ground a little, as we can see here. So let's go back to the selection, let's go to a side view, and let's drag it down a little. Boop, there it goes, fits nice and perfectly on the ground. Now, this pumpkin won't actually give off any light. It'll glow, we'll see its glowing eyes and mouth, but it won't actually give off any light. So you know what, let's put a small light on the ground here in front of it. we'll do entity, prop static. Well, no, we don't want prop static. We want a light. So we'll type light in here. We just want a normal light. We don't want any of these other ones. And let's put the light really low to the ground, right in front of the pumpkin. Right there. And now let's Alt-Enter to bring up the properties. Brightness, let's lower the brightness to something low, like let's say 50, something a really low light, because you know it's just a candle light. Pick color, let's kind of give it that nice yellowish orange glow of a jack-o'-lantern. There we go, that should be good. Okay, and appearance. Let's give it candle A. Apply. There we go. So now this light is orange. It's not too bright, and it'll flicker like a candle. So, yeah, I think we're pretty much set. This will be the last time I compile the map, and then I'm going to end the session. So let's throw a couple more props in here using what we learned. Again, I'm going to choose a static prop. There we are, prop static. And I'm going to place, let's say, a truck here. Why the hell not? World model, browse, let's do a search for truck. Alright, dump truck. Sounds good. Boom. Okay. Big mother hubber right there. Still floating off the ground a little. So again, I'm going to go to one of the side or front views, and I'm going to lower it a little so it's a bit more flush with the ground. There we go. And what? How about a prop, like a physics prop to play with? Oh, you know what? Yeah, since we're doing this for Team Fortress, let's put the Team Fortress. Okay, let me do a search for prop. Let's do the Team Fortress birthday ball in here. Props physics. Okay, where is it? Enter. Oh, whoops, that's in the dark room. I'm going to delete that. Let's start over again. Let's put it over here. Okay, Alt-Enter. World model. Browse. Ball. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm not props force. Nope. Okay, I'm not really seeing it. Let's just put a bucket. Yeah, let's just put a bucket. As you see, as bucket under its info tab, it is physics. It can be a physics and a static prop. So since it's physics, we can use it. Okay, hit apply. There we go. Now let's lift it off the floor a little. It's a little too close to the floor. Prop physics, since they're physics, they will drop down. Gravity will just pull them down. So let's put it in the air a little, so that way when the map starts, it'll fall down and it'll be good. It won't get stuck in the ground. I think we're pretty much done. We have a couple props in here. We got a big prop. We got a little prop. We got some interesting lighting going on. We got a physics prop. Yeah, let's give our map a shot. So we'll go to compile. Okay. Let it do its thing. It's not letting me pull it in. Come on. Whoa, okay. There you are. It's done. Let's open up Gary's mod here. Again, sorry if there's any lag. It tends to do that whenever I load a new level.
You need environment keys?
First map. Oh, that's more advanced.
Well, make sure you explain that.
Okay.
Because Shadow Bounty commented on it.
Okay. Here we are. So, wow, we got our truck here, and as you see, prop statics, they cast shadows, so they almost count like world geometry. So we have our prop. We have our physics bucket here. Let's give it a whack, see what happens. Yep, works good. And then we come in here into our dark room with our pumpkin. As we can see, 50 was a little too bright still. But, yeah, the flicker doesn't look too good. But whatever, it's there, it's something. Making this room more interesting. Well, anyway, here we go. I think that's about it. I'm pretty happy with this lesson. I hope it didn't go on for too long. Maybe this could have been split up between 2 lessons, but this is the first time I'm doing this, so, you know, forgive me. And it seems like a lot of people are still here, so hey, thanks for sticking around. That's it. Basically, with everything you just learned here, you can make almost anything you want. I mean, sure, you're kind of restricted to indoor environments right now. I'll save outdoor environments for another lesson. But yeah, I mean, you know, just be creative. You can. There's lots of neat tricks you can do, and I'm really excited to see what sort of stuff you guys make. So whoa, I'm gonna quit out of this. Don't need that open anymore. let me just get this back going here. There we go. Close out.
And then we should just close on the
Yeah.
other side.
We're done. So, thank you all for joining. This has been me. Okay, can I put it on now? Ta-da! This is webcam. Saber wants to show off Mr. Saturn. It's not ours. It's the company's. But they let us have it. So anyway, it's been fun. Again, let's see here. There we go. Yeah, anyway, it's been total fun. Again, I will post this to YouTube, so if you got lost anywhere, you can review it. If you have any questions, add me on Steam. I accept invites all the time. Yeah, you know, so just don't be a jerk, and I won't remove you. And yeah, just ask me any questions. I'll be happy to answer. I'll stay in the group chat for a little bit, and maybe not, for a little bit anyway. And yeah, if there's still lots of problems, if people are still having lots of trouble with things, I will be more than happy to have a second broadcast where I will simply watch the chat like a hawk this time, and I will answer your questions, give specific examples. I heard Saber was saying that who did it? Shadow Bounty, was he the one talking about cube maps?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, Shadow Bounty brought up cube maps. Those are more detailed. That's a more advanced thing. Those cube maps have to do with like reflections and having shiny surfaces. So if you're using those on your map and it's looking really ugly, don't worry. We'll go into that. But yeah, I paid for a 3-month license on XSplit, and I really like it. So I'm able to broadcast in HD. Maybe I'll start doing some Let's Plays or something. But yeah, a lot more lessons coming along the way. I'll try and split them up evenly so that way you have mapping, art, like texture, and 3D modeling. Because I know not everyone wants to learn the map, and not everyone wants to learn the 3D model and everything in between. And hopefully we'll get some coding in there too. I don't know. I'm still... yeah, I'm still a little, I guess, intimidated by coding myself, but it's something that is important to learn, and it's very powerful. So I want to learn it, and I want to teach it. Again, thanks for joining. I'll see you guys online, and that's it. I'm really looking forward to what you're going to make. Well, hopefully, maybe in the future, we can have a sort of, like, show and tell, depending on what sort of, maps you people create. You know, it would be a good chance to kind of get out there, get your name shown, show what stuff you can do, and yeah, it's great. And pretty soon you can start using what you've learned to make Chimera Hunt maps. I mean, it's really not that hard. Everything you know now, maybe I'll save that for next lesson, or maybe special private sessions or something. Show you how to do it. You basically have everything you need. Yeah, I think I covered everything. Oh, I didn't forget anything too important. That's it. See you online. Thanks for joining, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.
Mr. Saturn is always watching.
Always watching. Bye bye.